to 10,000 people.
Woo!
And I'll get rid of the ticker. So this is business networking This is business networking for success and company growth, part 2, lecture 11, hybrid. So Chaffe, in the last lecture, we talked about how networking can be really fun if you like to golf or do those sort of things. What about in this lecture, we want to talk about hybrids. So what is a hybrid networking event?
Well, so we covered a whole bunch of different types of networking groups, different types of networking formats. We talked about the sold, sold, sold. We talked about the I'm the boss strategy. We talked about a whole bunch of different types, the open networking. And the fact of the matter is that most networking groups are some kind of combination of one or more of the different formats that we talked about. And that's what we call the hybrid. So that's kind of like my catch-all bucket, if you haven't figured that out, right? And like I said, typically, whether you have an open formatting network or a sell, 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 sold format or something like that, networking events are a combination of those kind of formats, whether it's mixed in between with each other or sequential with each other. So for example, a lot of the networking groups that I go to that we've talked about that I run are an open networking type format, and then it goes into an educational type format or a speaker type format, and then it ends up again with another open networking type format. So very structured, and sometimes in between there, you also have the speed networking format as well. So that's really what a hybrid is. It's a catch-all. And what I wanted to really stress about this section, what I really wanted to let everyone know about this section is that the best way of finding out what kind of group that you're going to attend so that you can maximize your involvement, maximize your return, maximize your output from that group is, first of all, do your research ahead of time. Read up about the group if you can, if they have some kind of reviews online. Talk to people that have attended the group previously if you know anybody that you network from other groups. And finally, this is really the most important thing, is as I believe it was Woody Allen that is quoted with this. It's that success, 80% of success is showing up. So do your research ahead of time and then show up, because you got to show up to these networking events if you really want to start meeting people and talking about your business and talking about what you do and really building those relationships. Networking is the first step towards that. So you got to show up to these kind of networking events, right?
Yeah, and what I would add to that, Chaffe, is who are you meeting at networking events but people that are looking to network? And the chances are, over time, like probably by the time you've been at an event 3 or 4 times, you'll know some people, you'll feel more comfortable, they'll feel comfortable with you, and there's a pretty good chance that they're going to start inviting you to other networking events that you would want to go to, or that they go to. They may say, hey, Chaffe, last Tuesday I was at a networking event that was put on by a really good friend of mine. It was all about na, and it had some people that I think would really help you in your business. So, why don't you come next week as my guest? Or why don't you join me next week or next month or whenever it happens to be? So when you're starting out, and it's kind of like with anything that you start out with, it's like, how am I going to, do any of these things or find any of these things or learn what I'm doing? And like you just said, well, you just show up, and all of a sudden, because networking leaders are networking all the time at different groups, and they're looking for people that would be ideal members for their group as well. So they're looking for you just as much as you're looking for them. And the key is just to make sure that you have fun, you are yourself, you're authentic, you work on the relationship, you build the relationship, and then they're going to want to do business with you regardless of what your business is.
And you touched on a topic there that we didn't talk about a lot, which is well, you talked on actually a couple topics that we didn't talk about a lot. First and foremost, at my networking events that I hold, I always ask the group, hey, what networking groups are you attending or have you attended, and can you share with the group? And so I'm one of those group organizers that are actually active in sharing that information with my members, because I want them to get out and I want them to meet other people and network, and I want them to tell other people about my group, right? And so I'm very active about that as an organizer. And secondly, the key thing that I really like that you touched upon, Scott, was that us organizers are also looking for key networkers. I mean, we're looking for good networkers, not only to network with our people that show up to our group, we're looking for those networks because we know those networkers will go out and tell other people about our group and bring more people to our group as well. And so, as you said, if you're authentic, if you go out there and you network and you share information and you're really wanting to help people, those are the kind of people that we're looking for when we run networking events that we hold. And we want you to come to our group so that we can share with you what we have, and that you'll take what we have and then share it with other people as well.
Good point, Chaffe. So in our next lecture, we've done all the talking pretty much. Now we're going to get you to do a little bit of work. So it's a lot of fun. We'll see you in the next lecture. So that's the activity. Do you have an activity, or do you just want to tell them to get out to a networking event?
I mean, the activity that I have, I think, is a pretty good one. So.
Oh, I didn't read it.
Well, which is just, write down what you think you're like, pretend you're an organizer. What would be your ideal group format? And then do some research to see if you can find a group similar to that.
Okay, perfect. This is lecture 12, activity. So Chaffe, what do we want everybody to do now? They all know about different types of networking groups. And what's the next step?
So the next step really is, this is a great activity for you to do before you start really diving into networking, is now that you've gone through all the different types of formats of groups, now that you've really heard about what's potentially out there, imagine if you were an organizer yourself and you had to run your own group. How would you run that networking group? So how would you want that run, first of all, and how would you run it? So take out a piece of paper and just write down, Scott's networking group, or whatever you want to call your networking group, right? And then just jot down, if you had an hour, 2 hours, how long do you want it? What kind of format? How do you want it run? Do you want to charge for it? How much would you want to charge? What do you think is comfortable? And so write down those details. And here's the cool thing, is that once you have that down, review it, look at that group and say, hey, this group would be really cool to attend, or something like this would be really cool to attend. And then step number 2 is go out there and see if you can find a group that does exactly what you wrote down, right? And so here's the best part of this activity, is that you have what you wrote down as your ideal group. Now you go do your research to see if you can find something that's similar to that. And if a group is not similar to that, or a group is missing 1 or 2 pieces that you wrote down, then you could share what you wrote down to that group so that maybe they might add that to their format or change the next format of the next event. Or the third thing is that you go to a networking group, you find something you like, and then you could take that and add that to your ideal group as well. So keep a running list of what you want to be ideal, so that when you actually get to the point where you're organizing and running your own group, now you know what you want and how you want that group to be run. And that's really the progression that I went through as an organizer. I went out there and did a ton of networking. I mean, I did a ton of networking, right? So I went to a ton of groups, paid a ton of money, and I found out what I liked and what I didn't like, right? I found out the different things, the different nuances of different groups, and I put that all together. And so now when I run my own groups, I know exactly how I want to run it. I know what length I want it, how long I want it, how much I want to charge, if I want to charge at all. And so I run different networking groups according to that experience. So great activity for you to do. Starts with taking out a piece of paper and writing down what your ideal networking group would be like.
Yeah, that's a great activity. And to the side or below, you can, there's a Q&A button. And once you've got a list, share it with the class, because if everybody is sharing what they're doing, someone may think of something that they want in their group that you didn't think of in yours, and you go, oh, I really like that idea. And, everybody in this class is looking at networking, and we never really talked a lot about online networking, but you can network in this class as well. And the best way to do it is not to post, hey, buy my widget, it's 50% off, but to participate. And this is how you can start. Go to the activity and the buttons, let us know how you did with your activity. Let us know if you've got any ahas, that sort of thing going on. And then post your ideal group. And when you get to the end of the course, we have a link to the Facebook group that we've got, which is another opportunity for you to network with a bunch of like-minded graduates. So we look forward to hearing your feedback and to seeing what you want to do in your ideal group.
Awesome.
All right, so that's the end of lecture 12. With lecture 13, the summary, what I'd just like to touch on, and maybe this is in another course, I just realized that, was just the attitude of when you go to an event, which is just basically, don't go there thinking everybody's going to try and sell me and have a bad attitude about it, right? And don't go there thinking that all you're going to do is hammer your business. Think about it in terms of creating a relationship and having a little bit of fun.
Yeah, that's in a follow-up course. So we have networking groups. The rest of the story is the next lesson. And then the one after that is how to connect with anyone. So that would really be where that goes to, that attitude thing. And then the following one is influence and persuasion, how to be an influencer at the networking groups.
Okay.
So one thing that you're right, though, which I put my hands on my head, is that nowhere in here did I think about discussing online networking. So that might be a good follow-up course or lecture for us to add to one of these.
Okay, so do you want to add, I can add, I'm just thinking that I don't know that we need to do a summary for this section.
Okay.
But we could do one online networking.
Yeah, that's the new hot thing that I haven't done too much of it, quite frankly, other than, Zoom, things like this. And
you've actually done a ton of it.
You have?
Well, I have, but you have. You just don't realize it.
Okay. Well, I'm referring to, what are you referring to, other than, like I said, these Zoom things and podcasts and things like that?
Facebook and LinkedIn.
Okay. Well, yes, only what I'm thinking about is actual live organized Facebook meetings and organized LinkedIn meetings or organized Twitter. Have you been on a Twitter? What do they call it?
No, I haven't. I stay away from Twitter, to be quite honest.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's only so much you can do, and Twitter to me has never been. I just see all these people that summarize stuff on Twitter, and I go, how did they find that? But anyway,
there's
I'm part of a mastermind group that's set up in a Facebook group, and he actually has Zoom meetings.
Yeah. So Zoom meetings are one. Only there's live Facebook. I even forget what they call them.
There's Facebook Live. There's Zoom
Facebook Live. There's
Hangouts.
Parties. They're called Facebook parties and Twitter parties.
Watch parties.
No, it's not watch parties. Watch party is a new Facebook feature, right? Only a Facebook party or Twitter party is where at a scheduled time you get on and the moderator actually asks a question and everyone starts posting and replying to the posts. So it's an actual networking that happens via Facebook and Twitter. That's scheduled and planned, not just get on and start, checking your messages and responding and stuff. So have you ever been a part of one of those?
No.
So with Twitter, you actually respond to each message with a hashtag so that when you do a search on that hashtag, all the messages for the hashtag.
I see.
Right? And so on Facebook, you're part of, like you said, a group or something that somebody, usually it's on a Facebook page, and then everybody goes to that page, and then, they network on that page for that specific period of time.
Okay.
So they're actually organized online networking events. So that's what I was talking about
Right.
when you brought that
So
up.
is in our individual, like, so have you got some place where you're just talking about how you network on LinkedIn and YouTube? Not YouTube, Facebook? Well, you could do it on.
I don't. So that
So that's how I think of, that's how I really think, because that's what's happening with me, right? Like,
right.
it's really, I'm not even trying. It's, it's, but I mean, I post the odd time I'll post a free link to a course, and the
Mhm.
odd time I'll post a screenshot of a review, and then the odd time I'll post, I've got 100,000 students or something.
Right.
And what I've realized is that there is a group of people that are paying attention. And then when the time is right for them, they message me and say, Scott, what about doing a course? What do you think about doing a course on this? Or how should I get started on making my own course? And it's just like, wow, this guy came out of the blue, right? I mean, I know who he is because he's commented on other things that, that I put. So basically the strategy is become friends with people that, with not only, but because you want to have your family or your friends or whatever, but people that are in your kind of niche or category, and then post stuff and ignore them, right? And then the ones that, I mean, like, you don't post stuff and hashtag or tag Chaffe every time, because you're bugging them. But you post stuff that you think is interesting and what you're doing. And then over time, it's like, wow, like that guy posted he had 5,000 students. Now 2 years he's posting he's got 50,000 students, and then he's got 500,000 students. It's like, wow, like this is really amazing what he's doing, sort of thing, right? And then so that's how. And I didn't do that as a deliberate thing. I just did it as an ego
Right.
thing, But what I'm discovering is that people all over the world are sending me messages like, well, could you help me with my course?
So if you're up to it, why don't we just record a session real quick and just call it a bonus section, and we'll call it social media networking or social networking. Well, it's actually social media networking, right?
Yeah.
And then you can go a little bit about what you talked about, which I can add on to because I've done quite a bit of that. I've actually taught back in the day, Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn networking groups or training events. And then I could go into a little bit about this new Facebook and Twitter live parties.
Okay, good. So this is lecture 13, the bonus social media online networking. As we were creating this course, Chaffe and I realized that we hadn't really talked a lot about online networking. So we decided to add a bonus for you. And I want to start off by just saying that my experience with online networking has to do mainly with Facebook and LinkedIn. Those are the two that I spent most of my time on. One of the areas that I think most of us miss when it comes for opportunity for networking online is YouTube. Now, Chaffe is going to join us and talk a little bit about Twitter. I have a Twitter account and I tend to ignore it. I also got mad because they wanted my phone number or something and I changed it. And so they were going to call my old phone number that I didn't have access to in order to give me access to my Twitter account. And then anyway, so you have to make sure that you keep secure, because anyway, that's why I'm mad at Twitter and I don't want to talk about them. So just so you know. But YouTube is another place that has really stepped up its the social aspect of it. It used to just be go watch, and I mean in some places people would comment like crazy, but there wasn't really of a networking aspect. And for me, it's about building relationships. So you have like TV channels that are on Facebook, on YouTube, and they'll post a clip of their news or something, and then you'll have 30,000 comments of people that are angry or happy, and that's not networking, right? But I'm interested in photography. And so I've started, and that's what I did. I just watched a bunch of photography videos, how to do this and how to do that. And I ended up gravitating to two individuals, one of whom actually is really irritating personally to me, but his enthusiasm and his knowledge trump Scott's, judgment of him, if I can put it that way. So I subscribe to him and another fellow, and whenever they post anything, I get their information, and through YouTube. And then I've started to have a conversation with them, and that's really what networking is all about. It's about building a relationship, creating a friendship, and then who knows what will happen. Now, in the case of these two individuals who are photographers, the only thing that's ever going to happen is they might, suggest a lens for my camera because we were all about the same camera, and I might use their affiliate link to buy it. But so for them, that's the benefit of the networking, because they've created a deeper relationship by commenting or replying to my comments and going back and forth. So, but the reason I bring it up is I think there's a huge opportunity for networking with people that you want to connect with who have YouTube channels, because very few people comment. I mean, unless it's, sports related or politics or that sort of stuff, which is so many comments that you're not going to make a relationship. But on, if you're interested in photography, or you're following somebody in your business, when you start commenting, they're going to be like, oh, somebody commented, this is great. They'll comment back or reply back, and then you can start a conversation over time, right? And this is something that I've just noticed recently because of some of the other people that I follow on YouTube. And it's like, wow, like this one live stream, so that's one way people get exposure on YouTube. The guy says, I got a comment from Susie, and Susie, that's a trollish comment, and I don't recall ever seeing you before, so click, you're out of here. And I was like, this guy knows everybody that's commenting on his YouTube channels, right? So it's like, so if I start commenting, and you just make an intelligent comment, he's going to start knowing who I am, and that's the beginning of creating the relationship. In networking, what we want is we want to create the relationship. So that's basically YouTube. It's an interesting place to explore from this perspective, because I don't know of anybody that has taught this sort of thing, like in terms of YouTube. It's always like put up videos. But the fact is that if you think that a certain person would be really helpful as a mentor for you or as a customer for you, and you start, like for example, if I was selling camera lens cleaners, then I would start developing a relationship with these people on their channels, and then eventually, they might come to my channel and see me demoing my product and say, well, that's really cool, Scott, can I try it? Or there might be an opportunity for me to sell to them, if that was what I wanted to do. It's not how I typically work, but I just wanted to give you sort of an example. The two that I do the most networking online with is Facebook and LinkedIn. And I want to talk about LinkedIn first, because I don't do any on LinkedIn. But how can you say you do networking? Well, because it's a business networking platform that gets totally abused, in my opinion, which is why I don't hardly ever use it. And I know a fellow who is a LinkedIn marketing superstar, and we networked on Facebook. And I ended up asking him some questions about LinkedIn, because his whole thing was helping people get lots of followers or friends or whatever they call it on LinkedIn. And I was talking to him on Facebook, and it was really funny because he says, oh, Scott, it'll just happen. And I'm like, yeah, right. And then it just happened, right? Because it's like, I guess that's really bad to say if you're trying to teach people how to network on LinkedIn by saying you just show up, right? But like Chaffe says, 80% is showing up. So I would post stuff there, and I would have my profile done properly, and I would find some people that I liked, and I would become their friends. And I was really, really a small group, like 100 or 200 people. And then it just, like, after about 2 or 3 or 4 months, it just, all of a sudden I'm getting 40 or 50 or 60 people wanting to connect with me every week. So, and then I go in and I did click, 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 and I looked at the ones that I think, oh, this could be really interesting. And I also look at what, is it some, like I may tend to be in online marketing type stuff. If that's where they're at, okay. But if they happen to be, a student in Bangladesh, then I don't usually, accept them, because I just don't see the benefit of it, right? You have to be able to see a benefit. And then so I've got the people I go through and I accept right away. And then I've got the people that I don't accept right away because I'm thinking they're really interesting, right? So I don't want to get them lost in the shuffle. So then I'll look at them more closely, and then I'll actually reply to them and start a conversation before I actually accept them, because I'm thinking, well, that would be a really good networking person. That would be someone I want to know. I don't think of it in terms of the word networking. I think this is somebody that I would like to get to know better, or I'm really interested in what they're doing, or I think they can really help me in my business. I understand they're looking for customers, and they understand I'm looking for customers. So so that's kind of the LinkedIn thing. It was really surprising to me how all of a sudden it just started. If someone just sends me a canned message right away, then they're out, because there's not really building the relationship. And I'm not in LinkedIn enough to really build a lot of relationships. Oftentimes someone if I'm interested in them, I'll say, here's my email me, because if you're messaging me in LinkedIn, the chances are I'm not going to see it for 3 weeks. And that's also a way of finding out who's serious and who's not. I don't get an email from them. They're not that serious. The last one I really want to touch on before we turn it over to Chaffe is Facebook. And I didn't really plan on using it as a networking thing. I used it basically as, like everybody else. But a couple things that I do, and I've noticed that people watch what you do. And so if you're posting stuff, they're watching. If you're posting stuff about what you're doing, then all of a sudden you're going to find people approaching you about working with you that wouldn't necessarily otherwise be doing it. So one of the things that I do is I produce online video courses. So Udemy comes up with this little page that says you have this many students. So every once in a while, like when I hit 20,000 students, I posted it. I was like, yeah, man. When I hit 50,000 students, hooray! And I'm at like 250,000 students. So people over the last 5 years have watched me, I guess I should go like this, get more and more students. The other thing is that I get testimonials from the students. So I screenshot them. Every once in a while, I post them. I don't post them every day. It's totally random, because it wasn't really part of a strategy. I was just like, oh, I really like this review. I'm going to share it with, where am I going to share it? Well, Facebook, right? And so what's happened is I've created this reputation for being able to create really good online video courses that students love. And now when people are thinking about, oh, I want to do an online video course about, photography, and they'd ask their friends who happen to maybe be a friend of mine, who should I talk to about doing this? And they all say, oh, go talk to Scott. So I have people that regularly send me messages saying, I'd like you to meet Clara. She wants to do a course. And I told her that you'd be the person to talk to. Thanks a lot, right? So that happens. And then people that are my friends will just PM me and say, Scott, I want to do a course on this topic. What do you think? And it's like, oh, it'd be a great topic. Let's do it. And it's really an interesting change from, the typical way, which is, hey, you guys, if you want to do a course, come and see me. It's 50% off this week. And it's the steady stream that's occurring. And so this is like I don't know how you would call this, because this isn't like the networking we've been talking about, where you go to a room and there's a group of people there, and and you just say, oh, this is what I do, sort of thing. It's just getting put out there, and people that like you already find out, and then they decide to do it. Now, there are some more structured networking type opportunities on Facebook, and that's in groups. So when you find a group that's all about something that your business is about, then there's a real opportunity there for you to find a whole bunch of ideal prospects. And then it's a matter of not coming across as a used car salesman, a stereotypic used car salesman, where it's, hey, come here. Oh, you want to go to Cuba? Come, blah, blah, blah. It's, you want to be there, you want to be participating, and you want everybody, to be interested because if people are interested in what you're posting or what you're commenting, eventually they're going to say, well, I'm going to click on his icon, go to his profile and see who this guy is or this lady is. And then there's where you have, hey, I do this and this and this. And I go, oh, cool. Well, I'll remember that for next time because they really helped me. And as an example, you probably know that I love to travel, and I'm going to be going to Ecuador for 2.5 months in about a month and a half from now. And I don't know how to get to the town that I'm going to. And I found the town had an expat Facebook group. So I just said, what was the best way to get to Cuenca? And all these people, like, do this, do this, do this, do this. And I found, wow, like this was actually way better than doing a Google search, right? Because these were people that were living there, they were always coming and going, and they knew the best ways to come and go. And someone said, well, you go to this city, and then it's a 3-hour car ride or bus ride, and that would be the easiest way to go. And there is a airport there. I could just take a plane, but it's kind of nice to be able to drive through the countryside and see the countryside too. And then someone said, yeah, and this is who I use. Now, who am I going to use, being a total stranger in Ecuador, to get me from that city to that city? I'm going to use one of my new friends in this Facebook group's recommendation. I use this guy every time, and he gives the name, and I'm going, that's what I'm going to do. So there's a networking opportunity that created an income for somebody that probably wasn't even in the group. But because my networking friends, my network wants to help me, they were giving me lots of different solutions to choose from. So, and then I belong to another network. It's a mastermind, and we get together every week on Zoom, but it's a Facebook group. And so we're constantly talking in the Facebook group. And I've gotten to know a lot of the members really well. Like in any group, there are certain people you're going to gravitate to, whether it's online or face-to-face. And that's what's happened. And one of them said, you know what, I'm doing this, this, this. And I said, oh, that really fits in with what I'm doing. Let's get together and talk about that. And now all of a sudden, I've got a whole potential income stream that I didn't have before from my connection with this mastermind group, which is why masterminds are so powerful. So with that, Chaffe, I'm going to turn it over to you and ask you if you've got any sort of comments, and then talk about some of the networking that you do online.
So Scott, you opened up a whole can of worms with this social networking topic, right? So when I was originally putting together this course, I was thinking of, again, physically going to an event and networking and interacting with people. And so social networking obviously is huge. It's huge online. And just so you know, back in the day, actually, I actually started on Facebook in 2008. And the reason I started on Facebook in 2008 was because the other place that I was using, which was Flickr, believe it or not, I was using Flickr to share photos of my newborn son with my family, because I could upload pictures to Flickr for free and use that and share it with my family, which is across the country, right? And so Flickr at that time actually limited you to the number of photos you can upload. And of course, as a new father, I took a ton of pictures of my kid, and I needed more space to upload pictures, and so that led me to Facebook. And so I started using Facebook and sharing a bunch of pictures of my son to my family. And after I was using it a little bit, I realized that, oh my gosh, there's a ton of potential with this social networking thing, that not only could you use it for your personal business or for your personal life and the people around you and your friends and your family, and I started connecting with high school friends and all that social stuff, there's an opportunity to use this for business as well. And so I know you talked a lot about how to use it for your personal life, which is what it was created for. That's why they call it social networking, right? And so a lot of people, I just want to start with that, is that a lot of people that want to use Facebook or Twitter or YouTube for business purposes do it wrong. And they do it wrong because they don't realize that people are on these social networks to be social, right? To talk to each other, to network with each other. And so if you want to use it for your business, which I have, I actually started in 2010 teaching people how to use Facebook for business, how to use Twitter for business, how to use LinkedIn for business. And after a few years, I kind of gave up because the platforms changed so much. Every single time I did a training, I would have to update all my training materials, and they're still constantly, updating, and they're still constantly changing. Well, and let me touch on a few things that you brought up that I want to share in this bonus section, and understand that I've had 3 4 day trainings on this topic itself. I actually have a LinkedIn lead generation course that I have created and have on my website as well. And so, there's a ton of information to share about social media networking. Okay, so first and foremost, I guess I want to say is that people are on these networks to be social, with the exclusion of LinkedIn, because that's considered the professional network, right? And so, even on LinkedIn, though, if all you do is talk about your business and nothing else, then people tune you out, because all you're doing is commercial, 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 and they don't really care about that. Okay. And so, Scott, what you mentioned about, you just naturally posting about things that you're excited about, even though they're related to your business, you're excited about it and you want to share that, right? And so that's the way to really use social media. What about the things in your business are you excited about that you think other people would be excited about if you shared it with them, that you would think that other people can gravitate towards, that would talk about your business, only it's fun, it's interesting, it's exciting? Those are the kind of things that you want to share with people on these social networks, whether it's LinkedIn or YouTube or Twitter or Facebook. It doesn't really matter. Each network's going to be slightly different. And are you being social with it, right? Are you communicating and talking with people, or are you just spamming them and telling them about your business that, after a while they just tune you out, right? And so be social on these social networks, and be social about your business if that's what you're using it for. Only people still want to know you, who you are, and what you do, and more about you. And so on my Facebook account, if you're one of my friends, which obviously Facebook limits you to 5,000 friends. That's why people have Facebook pages that they network on. I'll touch on that in a little bit. On my Facebook account, though, I'll share things about my family. I'll share things about my son. I'll share things about the restaurants and the food that I eat, right? And so you'll see a bunch of pictures about that, and that's what people comment on. That's what people are excited about. I just a couple days ago went to the Chicago Travel and Adventure Show, where I got to do a bunch of activities. My son went on a Segway. He was on an obstacle course. And my other son was. I posted pictures of him eating stuff. So it got a bunch of likes, a bunch of comments, and people enjoy seeing that kind of thing and getting to know me and my family on a personal level. Because on a business level, if they know who I am on a personal level, they're more likely to do business with me. Okay, so post things that are social, fun, and exciting, not just about your business. I do want to talk about Facebook and Twitter. There's something going on that started a few years ago that is called parties. Okay, and so on Facebook and Twitter, they actually have Facebook parties and Twitter parties. Usually Facebook parties are done on a Facebook page, and Twitter parties are done with a specific hashtag. So an organizer can go to a Facebook page and to all of their members say, hey, at this time on this day, we're going to do a Facebook party. Or same thing on Twitter, at this time, at this day, we're going to do a Twitter party. And with a Twitter party, you actually use a hashtag that says, Scott's party, right? And so if you do a search for pound Scott's party, all the comments for that tag show up. And so the moderator or the organizer can do a party and start asking questions on that hashtag, and those questions will start popping up in that party, and people can just start responding and answering to that question. And if you like somebody's response, you can actually DM them or direct message them and start communicating with them offline as while this party is going on. So it's kind of cool. On a Facebook party, then the moderator or the organizer or the page owner will again say, start posting either questions or say that, tell me about your business and post your website. So that's actually one time where you're going to that party to network, right? And so everybody from that page that follows that page goes to that page at that specific time, starts posting about who they are and their business, and maybe something that they want to share about their business to other people, and people just read about the different. So it's online business networking on a social networking site. So it's pretty cool. Now, the hot thing today, which if you've been paying any kind of attention, is, as Scott said, YouTube is up and coming. Only, Facebook is not growing as fast as it used to. Only what is growing and has been growing is this thing called Instagram. So if you've been on Instagram, you know how hot that thing is. And unfortunately, we don't have quite enough time to dig into all the nuances of Instagram. And obviously, Snapchat is still popular with the kids as well. So if you are on Snapchat, you'll know why that's popular as well. So lots and lots of things to talk about on social networking sites. And again, what I want to stress is that you want to get on there, as you said, Scott. There is a strategy for everything. There is a topic for everything. We could break it down if we had more time, and maybe we'll do another course on that down the road. And for now, know that you want to be social on these networks because that's what people want to do. They want to know who you are. They want to know what's behind the account, right? So be social first and be able to share things that you can get excited about as well as other people. And that's how you start building those relationships, and people start connecting with you and reaching out to you at all hours of the day, because it's a 24-hour, 7 days a week kind of a network. It's all online, and you can post things and people can respond to it at any time. And that's what's cool, because you can reach out to people around the world, all over the place, and at your own time and at their own time. So really, really, really cool stuff, this social networking thing.
And one of the functions that are on the social networks that really make them powerful for networkers is share. Because when someone sees something, they can share it to you directly and say, look, Chaffe, I saw this. I think this would be really interesting for you, or it would be really helpful for you, or it's a good opportunity for you, or whatever. And they can share it with their friends. So it's not just, we've said this before, it's not just who you know, it's who the people you know, and the people that they know. And when you see some of these things going viral, that's a whole other topic, right? It's you
By the
put
way,
a video up and boom, you've got 1 million views.
I want to share a specific example which some people watching this training might know about on YouTube, which is the group called Pentatonics. I'm not sure if you've heard of Pentatonics or not. Only they're a huge a cappella group, which is a cappella. They sing without instruments, right? The instrument is their voice. So, and the Pentatonics a cappella group, I don't know if you know this or not, they're very popular. They're the number one or one of the top a cappella groups in the entire world. And they actually found a couple of their members from YouTube. And so when they were looking to put the group together, they were looking for certain members of the group. They went to YouTube and started doing YouTube searches for different positions that they were looking for, whether it was a baritone or bass or what. I don't remember the positions. Only I know that they went online and they found their members on YouTube, and that's how they put their group together. And so now they have this musical group that they found and put together, the 3 starting members, and then they added 2 more from that they found on YouTube. And now they're one of the top groups, if not the top a cappella group in the entire world. And that was all through networking on YouTube. So that was kind of cool. So.
All right. So that's the end of lecture 13. And so we've talked about the different group formats. The next section is how to figure out a group's format.
Oh.
I'm wondering if we actually need to do that.
I was gonna say, I forgot. Totally forgot I had this. We kind of covered it, huh?
We really have, and I mean, other than read the group's decision. Oh, meetups. That's an online. We talk about online networking, and meetups is online networking where you go to see people live?
I think, I mean, didn't we talk about meetups? I mean,
I don't recall talking about meetups.
because I know I talk about how I organize or run 2 groups through Meetup. I thought I mentioned that. I mean, we don't spend an actual section on Meetup, although I'm pretty sure I mentioned it.
Okay.
We can if you want.
I think it's worth its own, because I mean, if you want to network, if you just started out, if I just started out and I said, okay, I want to network, my boss says to me, Scott, get out there and get into some networking groups. I would go Better Business Bureau, Chamber of Commerce, Meetup. Right? And then there's one business, what is it? Business network. There's a big multinational networking. Do you know what it's called? Business Network.
International BNI.
BNI, right?
Latip and BNI.
That's those are, and I only know BNI because of networking that I did, because networkers, the BNI people are everywhere. But I would be looking at meetups. So I think it's worth talking about that, specifically. I don't think we need to do the figure out a groups format.
Okay.
Because I'm just thinking, like, read the group's decision. So, how are we going to talk for 2 minutes on that description? Talk to the group's moderator. See, that would work with the meetup, right? Because the meetup groups all have some leader, and then you could contact them through Meetup, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is we're at 46 minutes now. This is the 3rd time we've done it, so we're going to be well over 2 hours, which is what I want to kind of keep it to.
Okay.
And then we just have to do next steps and a bonus and an introduction to the course. So let's do that. Let's just do meetups, because I think we would be missing out if we didn't.
Okay.
I have this weird thing with my mouse. It every once in a while it just loses the connection and then it connects. So I try to move it, it doesn't move. I get mad and then it moves, and it's really weird. I don't know if it's just old or if it's a built-in obsolescence that Apple put into their mice, forcing you every 3 years to buy a new mouse.
Well, I have obviously a PC mouse. Only does the Apple mouse, are they all like rechargeable batteries that you can't replace?
Yeah, you just plug it USB, just plug it right in there.
No, so that might be why.
No,
when my mouse does this, which happens every few months, I have to replace it. And it uses like 2 AAA batteries. So.
Oh yeah, I hate that. Like, because I never have any batteries. But anyway, okay. So shall we do the meetup?
Yeah, sure.
All right, here we go. This is lecture 14, meetups. So Chaffe, you had mentioned a couple times that you run your own networking groups, and I believe that you use Meetup as one way to attract members to your group. And before we started recording this, we were chatting a little bit about meetups, and I thought about it. I said, you know what? If I'm working for somebody and the boss says, Scott, you've got to go out and meet a bunch of people and you got to network, I would be thinking of the Chamber of Commerce, the Better Business Bureau, and meetup.com. Because when you go to Meetup, there is every single type of potential group that you would want, from painting and hiking to roofers and general business and marketing and real estate investing and realtors and all the rest of it. And so it's a great resource for finding the ideal, let's just say the ideal networking group, particularly if you're starting out. And, to be quite honest, I've often looked at it and said, okay, some of my clients they're in a specific industry, And if they just went to these groups, because one of the things that happens with a lot of the more business oriented meetup groups is they have a guest speaker. They'll have their social time, they'll have their kind of like business time. And I've gone to many where they say, okay, you know, we're now Chaffe is going to come up and he's going to talk about networking to you guys for the next 20 minutes. So it's a great place to go and not only network, but also present your business if that's appropriate for your business. So I thought it would be really good for Chaffe to join us now and talk a little bit about how he runs his meetups, and maybe he'll give us some tips on how to grow it and explode it out of control so you've got thousands and thousands of people showing up every month to your meetup.
So you are correct. Meetup is the platform that I use for the groups that I run, and Meetup just makes it so easy to run and organize groups. There is a fee for organizers to run the group, and it's minimal. I mean, it's like $100 every 6 months or so. So it's a couple $100 a year. Just be aware of that. And when you're an organizer of one group on Meetup, it actually allows you to create 3 groups as that organizer. So for that one fee, you can actually create 3 groups. Now, if you're doing it properly, running one group takes a lot of time. So just be aware if you're running 3 groups, it's extremely time consuming. And I do run 3 groups. And of the 3 groups that I run, one of them is obviously a lot bigger than the other 2 groups. And I also have what we call assistant organizers for the groups that I run. So I'm not the only one that is planning and organizing, structuring everything, which helps me out greatly, and it provides a huge benefit to the members as well, because now we have multiple people doing things and multiple people participating in the group, and that's what you want. So keep that in mind, is as you start growing as a group, who can help you run this group? Even though you're the organizer, right? You're the person on top, who can be assistant organizers and co-organizers to help you start posting things about the group and events about that are coming up. And so first and foremost, though, is choosing a group name and creating your profile on Meetup. So as you are an organizer, now you can say, what kind of group do I want to run? What categories do I want my group to show up on? And so you can choose different categories, whether it's business, whether it's recreational, whether it's photography. So there's different categories that you can choose. And so when somebody goes to meetup.com for the first time and creates an account, Meetup will say, we'll ask them to do a search for groups. And so they'll type in whatever group they're looking for. Let's just say real estate investing, right? And so they'll type that in. And then what Meetup will do, will say, do you want us to search 15 miles away from your location, 50 miles from your location, 100 miles? How far away from your location do you want us to search for real estate investing groups, right? And so if you say 15 miles, radius of where you're at or what location you put at, it will return all the Meetup groups that are that topic. So real estate investing, or right. And so it'll do a search and it'll look for all the real estate investing groups within that radius, and give you a list of them of what are the groups and when are they meeting. So Meetup is great that it does that for you, because it finds all the groups for you and gives it to you on a platter, silver platter, and says, here, go to these groups, right? And so all you got to do now is go to each of those groups and read the description that organizer wrote about that group, and if you like it, join that group, right? So that's kind of cool. Now, be aware that some groups actually charge for membership, and most groups on Meetup are free. Now, a lot of them are free for you to attend the first time so that you can get a feel of the group, and then there's some kind of fee afterwards. My group, one of my group is completely free. We do a lunch networking every week somewhere in the city that I'm around. Every week we do at a restaurant in that area, and we have it posted out usually for about 2 months ahead of time of where we're going to go, so people can RSVP that they're going to attend that lunch meetup that I hold. And then I have another group where we do entrepreneur meetups that we schedule on either a regular basis, or at this point in time, we're just scheduling meetings as we plan them, right? So there's no set schedule for that group. And that one we actually charge for. Okay, so that one we charge a $15 fee for people to attend because it's more business oriented, and we want people that are serious. Because if it's a free group, anybody and everybody can just RSVP and not show up, right? If we actually charge for something and we put it online that we charge for it, we can actually give them a discount if they pre-register. So if they pre-register, we'll charge $10. And if they show up at the door, it'll be $15. And we've gotten people that do both because maybe they don't know if they're going to be able to show up that evening or not, so they don't pre-register and they just show up to the door and pay the $15, right? With that group, though, I know that if they're paying $10, $15, that they're serious about networking, right? It's not a free. They didn't just show up and say, "Hey, I just want to go and hang out with people and do nothing," right? So I know that if you're willing to pay 10, 15, $20 to attend my group, you're serious about what you're doing and you're committed to that because there's you got some skin in the game, right? And so here's the key about these groups, though. If you're on Meetup, whether you're an organizer or just somebody looking for groups to attend, is that if they're a good organizer, then they'll send out regular messages to the group, right? And you can also see all the other members of the group, so that if you're networking with them at an event, you can then go on Meetup and start connecting with them and communicating with them and messaging them on the Meetup platform, right? So it's kind of cool. And by the way, when you RSVP to attend a networking event on Meetup, that Meetup platform will actually automatically remind you that those events are coming up. So if I RSVP to attend a networking event 3 weeks from now, then Meetup will remind me a week ahead of time that, hey, their Meetup is coming up. Don't forget about it. And then 2 days before the event comes up, says Meetup will send out an email. It says, hey, this event is coming up in 2 days. And then the day of the event, it can send you another reminder. And the organizer sets all that up, and you can set your preferences whether you want to receive those or not. So Meetup is a great platform to encourage and remind people to go out and network. And it allows you not only to find other Meetup groups that are of that topic, it gives tools for organizers to really go out there, connect with their members, and promote an event and get them to your event. Now, what I will say, what Scott mentioned, is that how do you grow your Meetup group to hundreds and thousands of members? First and foremost, I would say that it takes a lot of work. Okay, so be prepared. Being an organizer requires a commitment from you to really communicate with your members if you want your group to grow. Okay, and so what does that mean? It means that you got to send out regular emails and messages. You got to hold regular events to your members. You have to offer some kind of benefit for them to come, and you got to communicate with them on a regular basis. So I'm constantly getting messages from my members asking me questions, and I'm constantly responding to those. And then we do what we can to cater to that group on Meetup. And so, again, it's a great way to communicate, and understand as an organizer, it will require a commitment of time and energy. So it's been well worth it for me. My silly, $100, $200 that I pay per year has been multiplied hundreds of times already with the members of my group and doing business with the members of my group. So well worth it. And I recommend everybody check out meetup.com. Again, that's if you want to go there, MEETUP, meetup.com. Go there and check it out. So back to you, Scott.
Great job, Chaffe. Awesome. All right, so that's the end of lecture 14, meetups, and now we're going to be going to the next section, the wrap up. So this is where we tell them what to do next. Well, it's kind of like, congratulations, you finished the course, and you learned an awful lot about networking.
Okay.
Formats.
Do I do this? Do we do this? Do you do this?
We all do this.
Okay.
It's your rah-rah at the end.
Yeah.
And then the help your fellow students is just an article that tells them to, leave a review. And then the bonus is your upsell.
Okay.
Which I never know what it is.
I know.
Now we can put the bonus later if we want.
Yeah, I mean, usually for now, don't we do the bonus of just sign up for other networking courses?
Yeah.
Other Udemy courses. So
yeah,
we could go with that for now.
All right. And then we do an introduction to the course, because I don't think we did an introduction to the course.
Okay.
All right, here we go. This is, oh, hang on. I forgot to get rid of this stuff that we are not going to do. This is lecture 15, next steps. Congratulations, you have come to the end of the course, which puts you in the top 10% of students on Udemy, because the majority of people, believe it or not, don't even start, let alone finish. So we're really happy that you've come to the end. Udemy will make, once you've done the very, very, very last lecture down below us here, Udemy will give you a certificate of completion. If you can't find it, because believe it or not, they move it all the time on us, at the very bottom of the page is a Udemy support link. Message them and ask them for that. In fact, if you have any technical issues, the video is stopping, not working right, contact them, because we can't do it. We're not techies that have any idea how to fix video. If you have a question about networking, that's where we come in, and there's a Q&A button. Make sure that you take good use of it, because this is a lifetime course that you've got, and as long as we're alive, we'll be here to answer it. Any questions that you've got about networking. And if you have success stories that you want to share, you can put them in there too, because we really want you to, again, this is a course of about networking. The students here all want to network, and if you've got a success from doing some networking, please share it with everybody. It'll really help your fellow students. And of course, if you leave a review, that really helps us and encourages us to continue making courses for you. So with that said, I want to turn it over to Chaffe.
Hey, so as Scott said, congratulations and thank you for going through this entire course. We would love to continue this relationship with you on Udemy and otherwhere. You can look us up online. You can go to my website at keyconceptcoaching.com, where I have some of my coaching information. And make sure you check out our other Udemy courses on networking. This is actually part of an entire series that Scott and I are doing on networking, where we've covered the different networking groups. This one is about the different formats. We got one coming up about how to network and go there and talk to anybody at a networking group. And we got one on influence and persuasion that we're going to put out there as well. So this is just one of a series of networking trainings that if you're serious about networking, if you really want to get out there, make sure you check out and look for our other courses. And again, congratulations. And I look forward to seeing you at a networking event in the future.
Great. So next up, helping your fellow students. And we'll see you in the next course, everybody. Bye-bye. The broadcast